Hello and welcome to UK Versus, bringing you theories, news or more, win, lose or draw, with another episode of the Material Deck. We provide the material and they make the deck. I am joined by the amazing Gerrit, acting as judge today, commentator, tournament organizer, and as all around amazing player in his own right. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing amazing. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to see what all our contestants are brewing up very soon here.
Yes, and speaking of contestants, we've got the first speaker we've got today is Chessie, a free agent looking for a home to rest his a brewer like no other, and is here to show his chops against two of the biggest teams in GA, Frostbinds Gaming, another amazing content creator and all-round menace of Grandarchive. How are you doing?
I wouldn't say I'm a huge team or anything. We're not even a team. We're just a smaller up and coming content creator. But I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, doing well as always. And we have Stevo of Careful Study. Was kind of roped into doing this because the team was interested, but with it being the 4th of July, they kind of just forced someone to be here, and we appreciate Stevo being here.
I mean, I would have done it anyway. David was the one that reached out, so
Perfect.
He's my social connection butterfly.
And I realized I just actually skipped over him. So how are you doing, Chessie?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm got the day off for the 4th of July, ready to cook some decks and show you guys what I've got in store.
Perfect. So how this will work is I will give you a prompt, and for the first round, you'll go away to the tables. You'll put on your screen sharing. You'll have 30 minutes to build a deck based on that prompt. At the end of those 30 minutes, you will be dragged into the lobby, kicking and screaming whether your decks are ready or not. You will showcase those decks to myself and Gerrit. After you've showcased your decks, we'll go away. Gerrit will share his thoughts on the decks. He'll decide who, unfortunately, is going to be banished from our memory as we ascend to level 2. And we do the whole thing over again, but with a prompt from Gerrit. The big kicker being, whilst you're building these decks, Gerrit and I will come and look at your tables. We will ask questions, and we will try and figure out what your mindset is whilst you're brewing these decks, not only when you present them.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good.
That's absolutely amazing. Let's get in. Let's kick off with round 1. Now, I did say that I would be giving the prompts, but technically, Weaves of the Shore is going to give you this prompt. So last Sunday, we had the developer stream where we had the new category allocations, and Ranger Strides was made a category 3, no longer playable. And basically, Weaves of the Shore said, we're interested to see how Water Level 1 and Wind Wake Up evolve without Strides. And I went, that sounds like a perfect prompt for this show. So, I want you to evolve either Wind Wake Up or Level 1 Water Diana without Ranger Strides, making it as competitive as possible and a potential world contender.
Okay.
So, question on that. Are we stuck to level 1, or are we allowed to further go up to level 3 in this case? Because are we allowed to adjust the list in terms of that?
You are allowed to adjust this if you think that, if you want to go with the level 1 Water Diner, if you think you can go to level 3 Water Diner while still capturing what the level 1 Water Diner was with Strides, and kind of showcase what that gameplay was while still going to level 3, you go for it. Similar with Wind Wake Up, if you think you can go you can go above the Spirit and still showcase what Wind Wake Up was trying to do, that is entirely up to you. What I want you to do is capture the spirits of these decks and the way that they were played before they lost Strides, and try and allow them to still do this without Strides. It's not the easiest of prompts. I know this, but I'm really excited to see what you guys can cook up.
All right.
Right, I'll let you guys head to your tables. Please do not share tables because that's just going to be really confusing. And once you guys have all got your screen share on, I'll start the 30-minute timer and we'll pop in to talk to you guys in a bit. So, Gerrit, what do you want to see from these decks? How can Water Diana and Wind Wake Up be evolved? Because I personally don't think they can, but I'm not the most experienced player.
So Wind Wake Up is actually rather easy, because you go back to a rather older deck that was played in Mercurial Heart, It was basically just Wind Wake Up with automatons, and the idea was you use power cells to power up one ally and just go swing for game. I suspect that for the most part, the Wind Wake Up lists will look something along the lines of having a couple automatons and a couple power cell generators and just the wake up cards.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of you going back and doing a deck that was already quite popular, but kind of just using new stuff to elevate it.
Yeah, basically. You only run a couple automatons, like the Shimmercloak Assassin, that is a stealth ally, and an automaton to attack 2 health. And if it gets buffed with a couple of power cells, it is already pretty hefty. And you then put around a shell of protective cards with those ranger units, like Purse or something else.
So if you had to go with this prompt, is Wind Wake Up the one you'd be looking to tackle, or is the Water Diana more calling to you?
It depends on what you personally actually want to do, right? If you have an easy task to not fail the first round, I probably would go with Wind Wake Up. But if you want to challenge yourself, and we saw a question was already, can you go up to level 3? I have already an idea what is this going to be. So you would go with the Water Diana.
Yeah, I mean, level 3 isn't off the table, but I know the idea of these decks is to be a more controlling mid-range deck that builds up to like an almost OTK one-turn kill combination, and pushing to level 3 isn't always the best in terms of influence retainment and interaction for what this deck is trying to do.
What you can do with Diana is that you actually play with the Cosmic Focus. And you loop this a couple times. This way you also generate one very big swing. The idea is you get distance, activate Cosmic Focus, get ranged 4, put the card on the 4th place in your deck, glimpse again, do it again, and so on. And then you generate one big swing again.
Yeah, so
Similar as if you use multiple instances of Cheshire Cat with strides.
Yeah, exactly. Similar to just going Cheshire Cat strides, play Cheshire Cat strides, just utilizing that chip. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of theme you're looking for, but that you need to go to level 3 in order to do that. So that's probably what they're looking to do. Are there any traps or like is there any directions that you don't want to see the decks go?
Not really. I'm super open. And my personal thought is always, if you never tried something, you should never say it's bad unless it makes -3 or something.
Yeah. 26 minutes on the clock. Should we go check in on where these guys are started on the building? Who'd you like to check in on first?
Let's go with Chezzy.
Hello, Chezzy. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I've got a rough idea going on. If y'all
Really?
remember back in A and B season when we had those Oath of the Sakura decks running around that wanted to build a bunch of unique allies, put 3 on the board, play Oath, kill you in a single turn. I think that's probably about the proper adaptation that we're going for here. Because it uses a lot of the same pieces that the Wind Wake Up decks currently use, with like the Lubei and so on. So what I'm currently working on figuring out is if I'm still on glass, I might, because worth it to go like Cheshire, Lorraine, Inert Sword, and to go from there. But I'm also looking into if I just want to skip all of that and just go GCR and try to run card advantage and handle things that way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sounds like you've got a good line going. What is it that drew you to going for advancing the Wind gameplay over, say, the Diana gameplay?
Honestly, a lot of it is one of my locals, because he's a huge Wind Wake Up player. He played Wind Wake Up before we had strides at Nationals last year, like when he was first just getting into the game, and that was kind of a big inspiration for me.
Oh, that's
nice.
absolutely awesome.
And is he performing well with it, or is it just a constant threat for your deck choices at locals?
Like he won the Dallas Regional, I believe it was last season. On Wind Wake Up, so he's a very strong Wake Up player and kind of my inspiration to pursue this line.
No, it's
Is this also
absolutely-
something you would play personally at a local?
Probably. I'm not a huge Wind Allies player. I've messed around with it a few times, like especially with like the Wind Robot Automatons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's a reasonably fun deck.
On in general, if you try to build a deck, you usually go for main deck cards first, or is it material
I-
deck that you figure out?
I'll
First.
usually figure out like a skeleton, like
Mhm.
what kind of what's the core of my material deck, then what's the core of my main deck, and
Uh-huh.
then from there I'll fill things out as I need. Like I kind of go back and forth depending on what kind of deck I'm building.
Hmm.
Basically, just take the core concept, you find your pieces, you figure out what's missing, and then you go from there.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got an absolutely solid idea. You know what you're going for, where you're going with it, and it's basically just following on from there, going with the experience from local players and friends that have already been doing this.
Yep, that's the plan.
Right. Well, I guess we'll leave you to it unless you have any final questions, Gerrit.
Not at the moment yet.
Right now.
Good luck, and we'll go check in on what Frostbite Gaming's up to.
Awesome. How is it going for you? Oh, I see. We
So
are
Diana's
going
kind of a
with
specialty
Diana.
of mine. So like this was a pretty easy prompt to jump into for me.
It's almost like your question gave it away.
I almost asked if I could just use a prompt for a deck I had already like put together, but I understand the rules of the game. So
I mean, that's. I never said you couldn't bring something you made earlier, so.
this is fine. I will cook this from scratch. That is okay by me.
If you build decks in general, what is your process? Do you start with the material deck first, or do you look at the main deck cards you want to actually have in your deck as a win condition?
It's kind of hard to say, really. Like usually, like whenever I'm building decks, usually it's more than 30 minutes for me. So I will literally sit there and just go over things over and over again.
Mhm.
Usually it's based off of a mechanic that I like. I guess it would start with the advanced element for me. And I will, if I find a card I like in that advanced element, I'll try to build something around it. Or say I find an ally that I like a unique ally or something, try to build a list around that to make it work. But usually it involves a mechanic. I think Diao Chan is like a good way to explain that. Like I really like the wither mechanic, so I would just build. I'd pull all the cards out with anything with wither in it, and then I would just kind of slowly take them out for ones that are like, all right, well, this is too slow, or this has way too high of a cost, or this is never gonna happen, type of thing. So,
Okay, cool.
yep.
So, what drew you to doing the Diana expansion over the Wind expansion? Is it just that you've got the experience with it?
So I wanted to try to keep it so the prompt called for like Water Diana. So I wanted to try to keep it to the prompt of Water Diana. But also the big card here is there's a card in Astra called Cosmic Focus that allows you to stack ranged on your champion, and it is basically the next best thing to range or to the strides. So I'm trying to keep it within the same margins while being competitive and while still trying to keep that that aspect, that mechanic of stacking ranged on like in the deck list itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you could have also gone for like the Wind Wake Up expansion. So I was just wondering why you went for Diana over the other option.
To be honest, I absolutely despise Wind Wake Up. Like I refuse to even build a list for it. It is like it is such a, to me it's such a casino deck, and I don't like it.
I'm glad I
You
added
already have my sympathy points.
I was just going to limit it to Wind Wake Up. I'm glad I added the Diana option now.
Yeah, definitely, because I I would have had to do the prompt, but I would not have enjoyed it. So,
And that's not as fun. Get any questions on the build?
no, I think I'm pretty good here. Like as you can see, I'm pretty much almost through everything. I just have to kind of
Yeah.
fine tune it a bit more.
I already see that. I have no questions right now.
Ah,
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
It seems like we are hopping to table 1 now, do we?
yeah. We'll head off to go see what Steve was up to. Best of luck for Frostbind.
Thank you.
These other websites for deck building are complete trash.
Just a
No
stranger
shade
secret.
whatsoever, but like, good lord, man.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I see. You picked probably Diana, Stevo?
Yeah. We're picking Diana. So the thought is we can do one of two things. We can stick with the Looking Glass with Cheshire Cat, Palvor, which is this in my maybes now? Yeah, it is. What happens if I do it again? All right, cool. It doesn't do anything. But yeah, the idea is if you stick with Looking Glass, you can still play Cheshire Cat as a really strong ally because the only alternatives I'm seeing is Quicksilver Grail or GCR. And I don't feel like Quicksilver Grail is as impactful as something like the Looking Glass for Inert and Palvor because the moment you forego Looking Glass, you lose the Cheshire Cat as an ally. And I feel like Cheshire Cat is just too good to pass up, even without strides, mostly because you're running 2 of the distorted swords that are going to boost the damage of Cheshire.
When you picked the Diana prompt instead of the Wind Wake Up, what was actually the thought behind it? Just because it is easier for you, because you know the deck better, or?
The reason for it was because Wind Wake Up, I feel like if you don't have Ranger Strides, Wind Wake Up, the only way that you could kind of mimic that Ranger Stride variant would be with like automatons with power cells. And I don't feel like that deck would be that consistent because the power does not come from the material deck. The power comes from the power cells, which means you need to draw power cell generating cards and spend your resources, not resources, but turn economy doing so. And I think that's the problem.
Okay.
Crux.
In general, if you build a deck, Stevo, how is your process in general? You pick a mechanic that you like, you pick something that is cool, or you just pick the broken stuff and do things around it?
Generally, you try to think of like a cool card or a concept. Like with Tony. Tony just came out with that Proxies update. So, what do you want to do with Tony? Do you want to do the cool Burst Asunder with the Fractal of Duplication, or do you want to do just standard Domain Tony stuff? Like if I was doing an idea around that, I would say, what do I want? Like, what do I want this deck to do? What is my win con? And then branch out from there. And then you start adding in the default cards like Creative Shock, Fracturizes, all your standard goods.
So first you focus on the mechanic and then try to build around it, whatever it might be.
Yep, pretty much.
Does it have to be limited to main deck or material deck, or is either good for you?
Oh, either is fine. I mean, like in the case of Wind Wake Up, you start with boots and then you surround the boots with, the win con cards and then the facilitating cards.
Okay, awesome.
Subtype. Do we have Aether Charge? There we go. Let's just throw in every single Aether Charge in the game. We'll figure it out later.
Don't forget to add any fairies.
Where's the fairies? How do I?
I was just trolling you, mate.
You know what? No, we're putting. Snow Fairy's decent. Which is this the good one? Yeah, this one's the good one. We're putting this one.
What did I just do?
All right, now we'll go back to looking at normal cards here.
All right, well, we'll let you carry on. There's 15 minutes left on the time, and we'll see you in the lobby at the end.
Sounds good.
I'm already excited, Stevo.
I am trying to figure out how to navigate.
I'm very positive you can manage.
Maybe if I had more time, but in a 30-minute crunch hour, might be pushing it.
You seem to have a good handle on it, and you've still got, 14 minutes at this point? You're fine.
14 minutes, brother. I just started the main deck.
We'll head back to the lobby, and we'll catch you there.
All right.
Best luck.
Thanks.
Interesting. I thought we see 2 Wind Wake Up decks and 1 Diana deck.
No, it's the exact opposite, and it's a very interesting approach. I mean, it makes sense for Frostbind, if they hate Wind Wake Up, that they weren't going to touch it.
I'm also surprised that both Stevo and Frostbind right away are most likely going for the level 3 route, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is there any tech or any of the decks that have immediately caught your eye?
So far, I was surprised that Jesse was more thinking of an Oath of Sakura deck than the usual automatons I would have expected. So that's cool. That is surprising to me. And Stevo gave a pretty good prompt on how he's approaching deck building and where the power cards need to come from at points. The phrase of power comes from your material deck is pretty. It's a pretty good one, and it's pretty displaying on what deck is actually strong, right?
Yeah.
If you extrapolate this sentiment to other decks in the meta right now, you basically see this happening. Gujira is very strong because the big toys that win you the game come from the material deck. So is Tristan, or the Diana decks were strong because you got all the toys from the material decks, right?
Yeah. I mean, the material deck is a consistent powerhouse. Your 60 card deck, you're subject to RNG, but your material deck, you choose when and what you draw from it each turn. So it's a perfect way for you to kind of house your win condition, house the core of your deck, and build around it with multiple cards that can almost kind of do the same thing, because you're consistently going to see the cards in your material deck. So seeing that being like the S tier, the competitive decks utilizing that ability, is a testament to what Grand Archive deck building is.
That is correct. Using the material deck correctly wins you games.
So you've asked each of the players, but let me ask you, Gerrit, what's your approach to deck building? How do you start building a deck?
You want to have the funny answer or the honest answer?
Go for it, but give both. Well, I'll cut one of them.
The honest answer is I just don't build decks because I don't have enough time. I just fork list somewhere. That is what I actually do. If I try to think about a deck that I might or might not try to build, I personally think of a win condition first. So it's less of a mechanic thing and more of a how I want to win. And then I try to build around it.
Yeah,
so in recent days, the Milk Jin deck I played in Vegas, where I scrubbed out heavily, was nothing new, but I took the idea of milling out your opponent and built my somewhat own shell around it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using other people's lists, going on to like the deck builders. Net decking has always had this kind of negative stigma around it, but I mean, we need to get past that point as a TCG community. There is nothing wrong with going, this deck works, let me play it.
Some people just don't have enough time to put into building a proper deck and still want to enjoy playing the game and not just getting clapped left and right?
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with forking a deck list and just tailoring it towards your personal preference. If you look at the Windcrux lists that are recently very popular around the block, right? You have the core concept is always the same of getting out your swords and your pendragons and drawing a bazillion cards, but within the deck you have different ideas of having Jiang Jiao in the deck. Aela is the wind card that suppresses 3 objects. Some play even the angelic channeling in the deck just to strengthen up their the Lorraine ultimates, with late game banishing a couple cards that they don't need anymore, and back and forth. So there are different ways of approaching a forked deck list.
Yeah, it's kind of what you were saying with the kind of win condition. Wind Crux Lorraine has the same win condition, but there's subtle differences in every single person's deck based on what cards they own, how they approach it, what their meta's kind of shaped. Even if you copy someone else's deck, chances are you're always going to add your own flair and style to it, just because not everybody, you might want to play the deck, but you also need to evolve the deck, because if a deck's popular, then not only will people be playing it, but people will be teching against it.
That is correct. And if you're playing a meta deck and get heavily teched against it, you need to somewhat prepare for the tech against you. So it's kind of a 3D chess, kind of.
Exactly. It becomes the scene from The Princess Bride of the haha, I knew you were going to tech against me, so I teched against you. I knew you tech against me, teching against you, teching against you, so I teched against you. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Perfect. So, seeing as this prompt is based on the new category 3, do you think strides deserve to get hit, or was there other things that should have been hit with it or instead?
So personally, I think that strides was a problematic card that needed to go if you want to keep the Cheshire Cat and the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
If you are fine with getting rid of one of the other cards, the Looking Glass or the Cheshire Cat, you can keep strides. That is also fine. Getting multiple instances of the ranged 4 on level 0 with a ranger unit is not fair at all.
No.
So there's more of a context to it, right? I think that you kind of need to be dealing with the more defensive decks in the long run, because right now, as an aggressive option, most likely you will end up with only the Fire Suzaku lists or the Aether Wing Diana. And that's kind of a low variety on aggro decks.
I mean, if the defensive decks and the level 3 decks can kind of prison pillar fort out their early aggression, and it's kind of why we've seen a rise with the CL ablation, because they can control the board, they can control allies, and then just in one turn go, here's 15 damage and here's another 15 damage, and you go, okay, cool, I guess I die.
Yeah, I guess I die. I hate the stick.
We've seen with the with Wind Wake Up on Diana and even some of the Arasana decks, level 1 and even spirits are perfectly viable given the right context.
That is correct. If this is a good or bad thing, I think this is just a personal preference. I don't like this concept personally, but as like a trading card game player, I can see why it needs to exist, right? But I'm personally more of a fan of the direction we are going with introducing more level 3 heavy decks, because this is the cool theme of the game, right? You want to be a champion to power up, use all those fancy cards that do funny shenanigans with Dante looking forward, and the demo decks being actually structured in a way that lets people on a demo experience how the game is supposed to be played.
Yeah, I mean, I did the Lorraine demo where it's kind of capped at level 2 and it was just all norm element, but then we've seen at Anime Expo, we've got the Dante Exia demo, and although the cards have been changed, it's giving people this kind of more in-depth structure on how the game works, and also introducing the advanced elements, which is a big appeal of the game. I think it's going to be great for other players of different TCGs to come in and see Grand Archive and see its depth and its complexity and its interactions, and have that appealing draw.
Yeah, for sure. I think the whole idea of both decks inherently is having big swings, right? And Frostbite Gaming picked up on the idea to use multiple instances of ranged, where this is also on theme.
Yeah, I mean, all three kind of locked in with a similar theme to what you were expecting. Like I said, Frostbite Games immediately locked in with the multiple ranges of multiple instances of ranged, which is exactly what Diana was already doing. It's just become a little less inconsistent. It's a little more inconsistent now, because you have to rely on the main deck rather than the material deck to provide it. Chessie was immediately locked in with this really cool oath strategy, which we weren't expecting, but did acknowledge that automatons was a way he could have gone, but was like, this is better in his opinion, which is really interesting to see. And Steve-O was struggling with the deck builder, but seems to be going down a similar line to Frostbind.
I'm curious to see if Steve-O goes to level 3 or if he stays on level 1.
What does a Water Diana level 1 deck look like with this prompt?
So the prompt could also be interpreted as like, you want to preserve the idea of the Diana level 1 deck, right? And it was always just enabling your allies also with the glimpse.
Yeah.
So you could go a little bit more into the ally route and maybe give your allies more ranged or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So expanding on the ally aspect rather than the ranged aspect. So we could end up with 3 completely different decks, all based on the same core concept, which would be really cool.
I think that Stevo's and Frostbank Gaming's deck will have about 30 same cards
Oh,
at
well,
the very least.
let's find out. Let's drag people back into the lobby.
Yep, and it was looking like about time.
It was exactly time. So, welcome back, Bakers. How have you used your time wisely? But first of all, how did you find the prompt in general?
Like this one wasn't too bad. I had a bit of I've had a bit of experience with the deck, at least playing against it, because one of my locals is really into Wind Wake Up. So that gave me a good reference point. It's like what kind of things are actually played in these sort of lists, and then going from there.
And Frostbind, how did you find the initial prompt when you heard it?
I immediately just went straight for Astra Diana and trying to keep the list somewhat to what it was already doing, but just with a level 3 strategy added in.
And Stevo, you were struggling with the deck builder when we last saw you, but how did you find the initial prompt regardless?
I felt it was interesting. It definitely put a perspective on changing and tweaks for certain decks going forward after those changes. Because I'm sure a lot of people were distraught with those Ranger Stride bans, and now they might feel lost. So I think it was a really good prompt.
Yeah,
Lost in the
well, one of my locals is Kid Delicious, and he has been very distraught as to what to play for Worlds. So it kind of factored into like my going with the prompt of like when I see him on Monday, I can be like, I have a bunch of ideas for you now. Right. So, Gerrit, you're the judge. Who would you like to present first?
Let's go with Frostbind Gaming first.
Oh, let's go.
Oh man. All right. So for the material deck, I decided to keep the Looking Glass and keep the Looking Glass strat in there because as you know, you can use ranged with physical weapons, which makes no sense to me, but you can do it. So there was no need to take out any like the inert sword or the Palver sword and keep the Looking Glass in. What we did do is we added in Diana level 2 and 3, and we just added in Radiant Vega, which is I think late game there's a couple new tools that came out for it that could probably help make this work a little bit better. But you can stack some stuff underneath this and make it into a negate. There's also a card in the main board that you can use to make a duplicate copy of this card. And then we have Teardrop Diadem, which in the late game, when you're at level 3, this card reads, charge 3 mana streams into your Aether Wing and draw 3 cards. So it's pretty strong. In the main board, the notable things that changed here, because we did lose the strides, I opted straight for Cosmic Focus, which allows you to stack increments of ranged 4 on you, and it just goes back in, and there's a bunch of ways to re-enable this card so that you can stack it multiple times and go in for that big swing. We kept the Kushalan archers for the aggro and the draw power. We added in, because we have like a heavier Astra package to enable more glimpsing. We added in 3 copies of Angelic Channeling to kind of help with that. Or it's also generic float that you can just mill off of Aqua Mirage. The big combo card in here is we also play Cometary Vantage. This and Cosmic Focus are like bread and butter. They go together perfectly, and it just enables you to keep stringing along that Cosmic Focus for like next to nothing. Other than that, we have the Cheshire Cat still, because you can swing in for a cat for 5 because you have Inert and Palver Sword in here. It's also a very sticky card that sticks to the board, even though you're not using it to pop to copy the strides anymore. It's still a really strong ally to play, and because we're on Looking Glass, you can you play it out early. And this is the card I was talking about that combos with Radiant Vega. You can play this out and make a duplicate copy of Radiant Vega, and you can just start stacking 2 of them up. And the other thing is that your allies can use this card as well. Other than that, it's just if you need to stack it into your Aether wing with level 2 Diana skill, which something to note with that is that you can take those Astra cards and you can shove them. It doesn't care about color, so you can just shove them underneath an Aether Wing when you go into level 2. So if you don't feel you have a need for that card, you can just put it in, and all the Astra Aether charges have 2 power. So you're hitting even harder because you're playing the Astra stuff. I added in Engulfs for just a little bit more negate, and 1 copy of Recurring Aether Charge because it's in the name, it's recurring. This card in your discard pile can always be used to charge into an Aether Wing to be used. The deck has remained mainly similar. We stuck with water, the tactical retreats and the refreshing charges and all that stuff. We just added a little bit more of an end game to it and consistency to make sure that the deck doesn't brick.
Seems like you tackled the prompt in a very unique way. Any questions, Gerrit?
Not really right now.
Well, yeah.
Thinking about something. Okay.
Oh.
Awesome.
If Gerrit's happy for now, we'll let you end the stream, and we may have some questions for you a little bit later on.
All right, sounds good.
Shall we go with Steve-O next?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
So I went with the prompt similar to Frostbinds Gaming's choice, which was the level, a little bit different, maintaining the level 1 Water Diana game plan. My thought and reasoning was it's just easier to mold that than it is to maintain the essence, if you will, of Wind Wake Up. So I feel like the essence of Wind Wake Up really kind of stuck with Ranger Strides. But that being said, I have the material deck for Water Aether Wing. I decided to cut Looking Glass. I felt like there's a reason to have Cheshire Cat with the Inert and Palvor, but I feel like you can just get a little bit more value from using other things. So my decision was to go with Quicksilver Grail, and in place of all the cool, Looking Glass related items, put in Mana Cascade, Enfeebling Orb, Diamond Ribbon, more of like, let's get more influence here, and maybe we can capitalize on, locking our opponent out of the game with negates or just overwhelming them with one big hit regardless of boots, as well as just Enfeebling Orb and surprises with Grail. In the main deck, it's kind of standard. A lot of the Aether charges are about similar ratios to what other people are playing. I decided to play 61 cards because I felt like trying this fairy would be pretty cool. There's definitely no other reason that this is in here. But also this fairy is actually not bad. But the main idea is, like, with the loss of Cheshire Cat and boots, you kind of have to find another way to make up your damage. And the best way that I could think of was playing an alternative ally, which is 8 of Spades for me, because the deck will still maintain a higher influence, especially with that Diamond Ribbon. 8 of Spades becoming a 4-cost 3/4 is not bad. It's not like ideal, but it's a decent cat replacement, I think. And the other big thing to me is this card right here, which I think this is really cheeky. I have won A and B drafts with this card because this card does so much damage. You can load it into an unloaded bow, so you play this turn 1 rather than hold up nothing. You just play this turn 1. Goes to your opponent's turn. Your opponent passes to you. You level up to Diana, and then you do your distant thing with her on enter, whatever, get your bow out. You recollect, load with the Razorhead, and then shove it full of other stuff that you have, like Aether charges or even play take aim. And because you're distant, you have 1 from the bow, 6 from this, 1 from Diana. That's 8 damage right there, which means you're already out the bat glimpsing like 10 from the Aqua Mirage hit. And on top of that, you're also hitting like a truck. I'm fairly certain, I did not do the math really well, I'm fairly certain there's a turn 2 lethal somewhere in here.
Ooh.
I don't think that's legal. I'm pretty sure. Aether wings are not bows.
That is correct.
All right, axe that idea. We're keeping it in just for the memes.
Hey, there's 61 cards here. He can just cut that and call it 60.
No. Either way, though, I thought that was a cool idea. Turns out I can't read. I'm a card game player. Really, I would just replace this with maybe more Eight of Spades or more like Frostbinds or Ceruleans and Dismissals. But the idea is still there. You play allies. You have to substitute cat. And then try to utilize cheeky plays with Quicksilver Grail, like Enfeebling Orb or Quickstep Shreds.
So the idea is more so of putting pressure on the board and just using your Aqua Mirage, Whisper, and all those glimpse tools to enable the consistency, right?
That's basically what level 1 Water Diana did before. I would say that this build version is slightly different in the sense that because of Quicksilver and the other tools in the material deck, you have a little bit more flexibility with your options and a little more surprise factor, let's say.
Sounds like you were trying to capture the essence of what Diana 1 was before the loss of strides, and you've done that quite well. Any further comments or questions, Gerrit?
I like the addition of the ferry.
I thought you would, Gerrit.
I concur.
Personally, like what we have seen so far, that one person did more go with the big swing ranged theme, and Stevo did more go so with the ally theme, and it is exactly what I expected, honestly.
That's perfect. Let's finish this off with a little bit of spice as we go over to Chessie with a bit more of a different approach to this prompt.
Alrighty, so I decided to go with the Wind Wake Up approach. As stated before, I've got a local Kaze who's like really dedicated Wind Wake Up player. He put a lot of work into the deck even before we had strides as a thing. So that he was a big inspiration for me at approaching this side of the prompt. When I was thinking about how I would tackle this, I considered the Oath of Sakura allies decks we had back in the A and B season, and then how they're a fairly similar in terms of skeleton compared to the Wind Wake Up list we have today. They both want to put a lot of dudes on the board early. They both want to maybe only go to one and nothing else. And they both want to deal a ton of combat damage as quickly as possible. So in my list, what I did is I kept a lot of the bones of the Wind Wake Up material deck here. Instead of strides, I had quick step treads just for something for Mad Hatter to grab still to net that card, and then you can flicker it with Zephyr or flicker it with Purse to go card positive over the course of a long game. The rest of it is actually pretty much exactly the same as a lot of the standard Wind Wake Up lists. You've got Lorraine to grab inner or ornamental, depending on what your influence is looking like. You got Thurible to keep your opponent's cards down. Smoke Bombs to get past Hunters. Wind, Water, and Main fire in the side. Because fire's usually just more rocket tags, so you generally don't need that extra card. Game 1. And then Pelvor, we're going with that to shut down a lot of different decks. And it also powers up your Cheshire to make it a serious threat in the mid game. Now onto the main deck. We went with a lot of the Oath of Sakura standard ally pile. So Liu Bei, Dilu, Guan Yu, Purse are all here. We've also got Mad Hatter and Cheshire are unique, so they count as well. As for the rest of my allies, I've got a couple of the standard Wind Wake Up allies. Mad Hatter is pretty solid, Liu Bei is pretty solid, and Concealed Marksman as well. In terms of building the big, tall attack combo, we still have that option as our Ranger Strides replacement through Invective Instruction here to give an ally +3 for the whole turn. So you can stack that on a distant Concealed Marksman, for example. Swing 8 in the damage step, second wind, make it 9, wake up, swing another 9, and still get those big bursty damage hits. We've got quite a few distant enablers, your standard skirting steps and back steps to go card neutral. Aether's Embrace is a huge blowout if your opponent wants to fight you on board. As well as Windy Leap will just get your get your allies out of the way of so much stuff, while also enabling Lube as well.
What does Windy Leap do again?
Windy Leap it's basically displace, but it comes back distant.
Oh.
Yeah, this is like the Wind Wake Up's new toy that it got in RDO set that makes their board a bit more sticky.
I see.
So,
Interesting.
and because it becomes distant after it returns, you still get the triggers on stuff like Lupe because it becomes distant once it's already on the board.
Nice.
So we got Oath as our secondary win con. You just put a buff counter on everything. If you got 3 uniques, which we've got a ton of uniques in here, they all get +2 power until end of turn. And you can even, like Second Wind or Rally, that to double dip on some power buff as well. So you could like slap with Lube for 7 rallied, and then slap with Lube for 7 again. It's maybe a little overkill, but this is Grandarchive. There's no such thing as overkill. For general filtering and consistency, we've got Fairy Whisperers, because we've got a very high win count. I believe we're in the 40s here. Coronation, just to dodge various spell shenanigans. It's a 1 cost in most of the situations we care about. And it can also just protect our face against stuff like fractals. Oh, I also built a sideboard for this.
Oh.
I went Fireball. Yeah, Fireball on the side, of course. And the Nico Snow White is something I mercilessly stole from my local Kaze. What you do here is if you're facing a deck that really, really wants to go to level 3, like the CL Oblation or like a Seiryu, you level into Nico and you just Snow White and Purse and flicker your Snow White repeatedly and just makes them miserable. Terrafring's in there is kind of just a generic side-in for whatever Bobble's dead. And then Sasha is in there to kind of fill up the side deck for the purposes of it's just a huge blowout into specific matchups. Like, if you resolve that Foster into a Gembu, like, you just win the game on the spot.
Well, it sounds like the Nico Snow White tech was a big hit with Gerrit.
It is.
I didn't even
things
think
like
about that. That's kind of nasty.
Yeah. Like, getting to, like, repeatedly flicker the Snow White with person, repeatedly trigger the on-enter, while having all of this protection between Windy Leap, Zephyr, Aether's Embrace, even Skirting Step. Like, a lot of your distant enablers will also just help keep it on board, or you just turn on person, flicker it.
That is super nasty. I love that.
Right. Any other questions?
So far, you answered everything already I could have asked.
Oh, yeah, great kind of breakdowns from yourselves. You've covered everything that Gerrit was going to kind of ask.
I mean, every choice was more or less explained in detail, so.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. If you've got
No-
no
not much to
other
ask.
questions for the bakers, Gerrit, we'll head off to the judges' table and we'll find out what you're thinking.
Okay, let's go to the table and judge people. I love that to do as a.
So this is a tough choice. All 3 decks were.
Is it?
Is it? Oh, what are you thinking?
So I'm leaning into Chessy and Stevo because they actually tried to build something more or less new. While the concept itself is not new of those decks, right? Frostbinds Gaming more or less picked an already existing deck list and changed a couple cards.
Rather than evolving Wind Wake Up and Ranged Water Diner, they just changed it into something that kind of already exists with a little bit of difference.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Because the Astra deck is a deck that existed before already, and people played it and played less so into the Diana game plan. While it captures the idea of having big swings to close out the game, the idea to me personally of the level 1 Diana deck was not always to have one big swing and to win the game with it, but more so having threatening tools across the board to have big swings on a more broader term, right?
Yeah.
So you have this can swing for 8, this can swing for 8, and this can swing for 8. Not my champion swings for 24 and you lose.
yeah, it wasn't a OTK deck by design. It was more a mid-range, get your opponent in a position you can kill them, which now that you bring it up, Stevo and Chezzy have kind of gone down those lines. They're kind of adapting the existing versions of the deck and going, well, what does this strategy look like without strides? Whereas, as you said, Frostbinds has kind of gone, well, this is what Diana can do without strides without going, is this what the deck was trying to do, though, with strides?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's not wrong. The deck tried to have a big swing with multiple cats, right? But this was more of a high roll and not the broader plan.
Yeah.
That's why I feel, since we have to eliminate one of them, it is the most likely choice for me.
Well, if you've made your mind up, we can head straight back and you can deliver the crushing news.
Oh, I have to do that too? Fuck.
Yeah. You're the judge. It's your decision. I'm not going to break the hearts.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
Hello,
Other look?
Bakers. We've had
Ooh, okay.
a long and in-depth discussion about all three decks, going over every aspect of the decks and the cards within them. And and Gerrit has come to a decision as to who, unfortunately, will be banished from our memory as we ascend to level 2. I'll hand over to the amazing judge as he breaks down who's going home and why.
Okay, so my pick for this is Frostbind Gaming, because it felt more like that. While not wrong on the prompt, a little bit missed on the theme was that while the Diana Astra deck is expanding on big ranged stacking, and this was certainly one of the themes of the Diana deck, to me it felt more like an ally-based deck that wanted to establish more pressure on the board with the threat of a variable big swing. And the Astra Diana deck basically has only this one game plan of I stack ranged a lot and swoop you out of the game.
I can understand where that came from. I did have, I just wanted to point out, I did have some allies, like other allies in there, like the typical allies that you would see in that list. And I tried to, I added in the one Astra card to try to help with their attacking capabilities. But no, I can understand that.
So unfortunately, Frostbind, this is where we do say goodbye to you. I apologize, Gerrit. Would you like to say what you're going to say?
I'm just super sorry, since I had to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
You really nailed the theme of stacking the multiple ranged instances on some unit. It felt a little bit more like this was already there and I changed a couple cards, so it's more of the fault of the prompt than yours.
That's totally understandable. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Either way, it was really fun.
I can't wait to watch your next video on a deck.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there anywhere people can find more of you and your content? Is there anyone you'd like to plug as you give an emotional, heartfelt goodbye?
I guess the only thing I can really say here is to check us out on YouTube, Frostbine Gaming. I'm pretty active in the main cord and usually like post things up. We try to do at least 1 to 2 videos a week, if possible, and we have a podcast that we do. Right now it's kind of on, like, whenever we can, because this season's really long and really slow, so there's not really much to talk about there. But other than that, I can't say I'm not obligated to say this. We are sponsored by TCG Architect, which is the deck builder I was using. So if you like to read articles and you're looking for a deck builder, check out TCG Architect.
And you do have a new series of, is it Pantheon games coming soon?
Yeah, we're trying to. I'd like to launch a community like a community like Pantheon like every week. I've seen Magic Commander channels do it where they bring in people and they do like a webcam commander type thing once a week. Murgle has the deck building aspect of it kind of knocked out. So I wanted to try to do something that was more getting community or other YouTubers in, or content creators, to just kind of have fun and do a webcam Pantheon because I know some shops you either don't have enough people or you can't get something started. So having like somewhere weekly to come in and have fun and do that, I thought would be pretty interesting. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, please send me a DM, let me know, and we'll try to get one of those fired off.
Absolutely. So, I'm in that Discord already, but the time zone seems to be the issue for me.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable.
Thanks for playing Frostband Gaming. It's been absolutely a pleasure having you here. And we, unfortunately, though, this is where we do say goodbye.
Yep, thanks for the opportunity, guys. Good luck to you.
Take care, my friend.
All right.
All right. So with that memory banished, we do ascend to level 2, and I'm going to hand the reins over, as I mentioned at the beginning of the event. Gerrit is now completely in control. I have had minimal influence into his prompt. This is all what he wants to see in a deck. Take it away.
Okay, so depending on how well you know me, I like Tristan a lot. And the recent wind deck that everyone is playing is getting super boring. So I'm personally looking for a competitive deck that is level 3 focused and wants to use at best multiple advanced elements or multiple advanced element cards. And it doesn't necessarily need to be going for a generic win condition. The idea is to create a advanced element focused Tristan deck that wins the game in some way. And you want to have advanced element cards, more than 5. And it should be competitive.
So just to be clear, basically the deck needs to be more than 5 advanced element cards, level 3, and can win the game.
Yeah. But if
Okay.
you put in one more advanced element card, yeah, that's kind of not cutting it. It's more like a general
I get what
idea.
you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know what I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I understood the concept of the prompt
The
here.
assignment, yeah.
No, you're good. I'm just double checking.
It's interesting that Gerrit had to specify wins the game, because I doubt people build decks to lose the game. So, any additional questions or clarifications you want on the prompt?
Should I include a fairy?
If you feel like it's playable and useful, why not?
I never specified which one. Dream Fairy's going in, baby.
Oh man.
That's a very
Whatever you feel like, Steve-O.
Yeah, that's a very playable fairy. Right, we'll let you guys head off to your tables, and we'll start the time once you both got your screen sharing up. Best of luck.
I'm super curious to see what they come up with.
Me too. I did bring it up in the point that you specified a deck that wins the game, but I assume you want to, because all decks should primarily be designed to win the game. You have a little bit more, something more spicy in mind.
The idea was to not just say, oh, you need to kill your opponent, but with Water and Assassin, you can also play a mill out strategy that recurs your mill card. Similar to the Alice list, but a little bit different, right? It's a different flavor. That's why I wanted to say, you need to be able to win the game, not kill your opponent.
Outside of checkmate, Grandarchive doesn't really have any alternate win conditions, so mill is kind of like what you're hinting at there.
Yeah, that was at least the idea I wanted to get across without explicitly saying it.
It's your prompt. You could have just said, I want mill Tristan, but this seems to be more, can they pick up on your personal machinations of what you want to see in the deck? And I did try to help out by pointing out, going, he said he wants a deck that wins, but yeah, that's kind of obvious as to what a deck should do. Other than the mill cards, what is it you're looking for in the deck?
Just really a cool win condition that is more advanced element focus. I already have a couple ideas that you could go with. You could play more of a Fantasia level 3 Tristan that gets the siphoning fractals on the board. Every time an ally dies, you get 1 life point and your opponent takes 1 damage counter. You could get multiples of those with like Suffocating Miasma that requires your opponent to put 2 debuff counters at the start of his recollection phase on an ally. If he can't do that, he takes 2 unpreventable damage. then, as I already said, the middle win condition is one with the whirlpools, with the sink into your mind, and the delusional vapors, and those two. With one attack and with one ally that meets your opponent. That is a way. You could also go with more Umbra attack cards. There are a couple cards that say your cards that you activate cost one more if it is in your lineage. Or at the start of your turn, you take X damage for the amount of curses in your lineage, or something along those lines. But yeah, that is more or less the theme I was trying to go for.
You've mentioned a lot of like water Umbra cards. Is water where you're looking for the deck to go? Because I know Steve-O did mention Dream Fairy, which is a wind.
It's not super relevant to me personally. What theme the person goes for.
Okay, so is there any traps or directions the decks can go that you're not looking for?
Not really. It's really just having a couple advanced element cards in the deck and then doing cool things. I guess you get bonus points if you draw a lot of cards, because I freaking love drawing cards. But that's about it. I think you can actually go with the fairies Devo included in the previous deck and just loop the on enter a couple times. So what you can do is you activate the card, and then in response to the card activation, suppress it. So you basically steal 2 cards or rip your opponent of 2 cards and put the 3 worst cards on top of his deck. Because then the card can't re-enter, can't leave, and the cards are just gone. It is especially devastating if your opponent got to level 3 and activated a channeling, and you just robbed him of 2 good cards.
But that's what the game's supposed to do. Those interactions are there for a reason. It's like, I'm going to stack 3 my cool cards when I get to level 3. It's like, nah, you get one of those. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty interesting theme of how you can approach the deck building. Since now you know you need to go to level 3 and you have a champion, and that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of narrowed it down quite specifically, even to like the minimum number of advanced element cards you want in the deck. It's a lot more specific than my prompt was. Like you said, my prompt didn't really help Frostbind out in round 1, whereas you've kind of narrowed it down, but at the same time given them enough space to make the deck their own.
I just wanted to make very clear that the idea of the deck should be not what Tristan does right now, but something else. Because if you have the Shadow Strike deck, right, you throw in 3 more advanced element cards more, and then I fulfilled the prompt.
Yeah,
sure, I guess you did. But no.
just fulfilling the prompt, as we saw with Frostbite Gaming, doesn't always excite the judges. It's about having that spice. We've got 23 minutes left on the clock. Shall we go and check how people are doing?
Yeah, let's go with Steve-O. Hello, Steve-O, my friend.
Hello.
How is Europe doing?
Say again?
How is Europe doing?
How is Europe doing? I don't know right now. I am busy doing the prompt.
I'm going to say Europe is very
figure
hot.
Out something already?
We're trying to piece together a more advanced element focused Tristan, which I think will better tailor herself to some of these other level 3 strategies. Like I'm on page 27. Let me go back to deck. Like right now, I'm kind of just outlining this, just putting in all the tech cards and whatnot. But one of the things that I'm thinking of is Tristan's harder matchups in the meta right now are Water Djinn and Oblation CL. And I feel like Water Djinn is just a case of trying to play things like Morgan, Displace, as well as for CL. I think one of the ways that you can beat CL is playing things like Blinding Orb or Enfeebling Orb and just capitalizing on a level 3 strat with Blanche and the big one being Imperial Countermeasure. Because usually Oblation just blows up your board and then you have nothing going for you. But once I get to the Umbra stuff, there's a lot of heat I'm looking at packing in this list.
I'm already excited to see what you're cooking up with the heat.
We'll get there. We're on page 27, so we're almost there.
Only another 19 to go.
In mind already?
Say again?
Do you have something in mind already?
I am full disclosure. I hate Tristan. But
Awesome.
It's a wild take.
there are a good bit of Umbra cards that I know of because I've played CL and Alice, and I know that there's really good end game Umbra cards that they gave Tristan that I think are worth investigating.
Okay, awesome.
So
Now, I will say, as I'm doing this list, like I'm putting Slice and Dice in here because obviously you play level 3 Tristan, but you always know you always have a line early on to Slice and Dice somebody.
Yeah.
Like as long as I know that I can put that in without like as long as you know, like you can win level 1. It's not, you don't have to go to level 3 all the time.
Yeah, but that was not the assignment, right? I just wanted to have a deck with advanced element cards that facilitate something.
Maybe turbocharge, maybe Tri-Castles.
So
Definitely Topsy.
Okay.
your
So
hatred
what
of Tristan has fueled your way to make her as destructive as possible.
I've been beaten around the block by Tristan enough times to know what's good and bad. So I'm going off of my defeat experiences or my pain point experiences with this deck.
So what you usually do if you approach something like this is you put one card of everything in that you consider and then go from there?
Yes, as you'll notice, if I go back to the deck, the main board is just a bunch of one-ofs, and most of these, to be fair, will not end up in the main board. While I am recording for careful study just to get my deck building thought process throughout the entire thing, not just the short segment that you guys pop in on. Like Gentle Respite is something that I mentioned in recording. This is probably not going to make the main deck, but it's something that I want to consider because whenever you play a deck that is a little more level 3 oriented, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into, I have, let's say, 20 advanced element cards. If I don't see X, Y, and Z card together, then I don't really have a good game plan of getting to level 3. Cards like Gentle Respite, Angelic Channeling, or any of the 2-cost fast speed floats, those cards single-handedly get you there. And those would be cards that I would really want. Gentle Respite is just one to consider because it's a +1, especially if you're going first.
Okay. Awesome. I'm super excited to see what you come up with.
Oh, it'll shock you, I'm sure.
I see a distinct lack of fairies at the beginning, at the minute, though.
We didn't make it to Dream Fairy yet. We're in the wind now. Actually, hold on. Dream Fairy's on the next page. Where is he? There he is. All right. We got one in.
It sounds like you got a very unique approach, and it's an approach, as you said, filtered and created from the pains of all your previous losses to Tristan's. So it's like, how did I die? Oh, I died to this. Cool. Add it to the deck.
Yep, exactly.
Well, we'll leave you to it with your 18 minutes left to go.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
Thank you,
go
Steve-O.
check on
Thank you.
Chessie.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
I am cooking up water Tristan Mill. More specifically, we are building around this beauty of a card, Delusional Vapors. 3 costs prepare 2. Fast speed, you mill your opponent for 8, and if it's prepped, whenever an opponent draws a card this turn, they mill an additional 4. Now, there's plenty of ways to make your opponent draw a bunch of cards. You've got Bubble of Abundance. You've got Umbral Tithe, or you can just play it whenever your opponent is already going to draw a bunch of cards. Like, maybe they're going to CO level 2, and they've got that mandatory trigger. Maybe they're doing some cremation ritual shenanigans. It's like, oh, hey, mill 20 while you're at it.
Okay.
And then the Umbra package here is mainly built to enable this line even further. Like you've got Umbra Sight to go card advantage. Reflected Blight will get you your prep counter generations or recur your vapors. You've got Profane Binding to protect your combo, and Umbral Tithe to just kill your opponent when you got the vapors on them.
That sounds pretty interesting.
My benchmark for a advanced element deck is it would be happy running Lost Providence and I think I'm hitting that mark so far. Right now I need to fill out kind of the remainder of the deck. I've got like the core engine and like the core pieces, and now I need to figure out a bit more in terms of interaction to like not die in the early game, and to make sure I have everything I need for my material deck, especially like early game materializations.
Interesting choices so far already, I can see.
Yeah.
So what led you to go down the Tristan Mill route?
This deck has been my white whale. Like, I've been trying to make this work for a long time. Like, and it's like, hey, I've already am pretty familiar about how this deck should run and should function. I'll give it a crack here and see how it goes.
Awesome.
So this prompt is perfect for you to like finally hunt down your white whale.
Exactly. That's like I've been trying to make this deck work for quite some time. So getting to put another list out to maybe throw some playtesting in later will be pretty cool. A lot of players aren't expecting the mill route. Like it's like why a lot of the water gin list took so many people by surprise at Vegas.
I see. So far, I have no questions. Just interesting choices I see so far. And I'm excited to see what it looks like in the end.
Awesome.
You've got 14 minutes left to cook. It seems like you're approaching kind of like the end of your dish already. I mean,
Yeah.
We'll leave you to it and best luck.
Sounds good.
Interesting. So after Chessy said, "Oh, I know what I'm building," I knew already where was this going. I had the impression. And I'm curious to see what Stevo comes up with as a win condition.
Because it seems like Steve-O's going for wind good stuff, like just basically an all-round good deck that utilizes good consistent grandarchive, whereas Chess is just going, this is my moment to finally make this deck work, and it's the exact kind of deck you were looking for when you issued the prompt. So we've got Steve-O bringing a little bit of spice in terms of what the deck is, but is playing more traditional grandarchive, and we've got Chezzy who is bringing a bit more spice in the deck, but is following the prompt almost to the exact letter.
Super curious to see what Stevo's win condition really is going to be. If it is just, "Oh, I smack you," or if he tries to use something more on the cooler line. And I think that will make or break my decision, actually.
Ooh. In terms of Wind Umbra combinations, what is possible cool win conditions?
As I said before, you could use the Phantasias more or more of the Shadow tokens. It's also a way to play the deck right now, since Radiant Origins introduced a couple cards that give you leeway on more expanding on the strategy of using multiple tokens. So there are ways to build the deck. You can also just play a I steal your cards deck if you really wanted to.
Ooh.
You use Innovate Agility, level down from Shadow Reaver to level 2, level up to Shadow Reaver again, steal 4 cards, do this a couple times. And there are Umbra cards that also allow you to steal cards from your opponent if you hit them.
And Agility is a fairly good meta pick with things like Ciel Ablation and the targeting spells. Just being able to go, I have Spell Shroud or I have Stealth is a great way to kind of like add it on to. Is a great way to survive a turn, and then as I said, advance your win conditions. That would be interesting to see if Steve-O does find that.
Actually, my hope that he finds something that is cool and has a concept of it.
So, what's your history with Tristan Mill?
I have no history with it. I just think Tristan is cool and Mill is cool. That's it. You could say I'm one of those type of players who has a lot of fun if your opponent doesn't have fun.
the kind of person that just builds a water deck that goes, if you need to pay more for your units to come in ready, you need to pay more to attack, you need to pay more to have an upkeep. You're here for a long time, not a good time.
You could say I'm recently one of those players who says, "Oh, banish this card from your memory because of Spirit Blade Sanction, and now we banish another card from your memory, and another one, and another one."
Wind Crux is fine.
I mean, Windcrux is a fine deck. It is not really backbreaking, but if you let the deck do what it wants to do, it just outvalues you.
I mean, I'm a big
And-
fan of alternate win conditions as is. Mill's always been a great one for me. No matter what card game I've played, Mill has always been in the back of my mind.
Funny thing is that I'm super fine with losing against Mill because then I can look at all my shiny cards.
It does speak to the inner magpie of me going, oh no, I gotta lose 15 cards. Oh, look at all this value that's going to the discard, that's going to the graveyard.
Kinda like that.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great casual locals kind of thing, and we've seen, as mentioned, Mill Jin and Mill Alice doing really well at regionals and Ascents, even nationals, and
I think if you have the general gist down on how a prolonged game in grandarchive works and what you need to establish at what point in the game, you are probably pretty good if you pick up the deck right now and start playing it. Because you need to be prepared of what the opponent is playing, and then also at what point in time you need to be able to facilitate your heals, at what point in time you can just take a chunk of damage through your inherited abilities and your Ambrosites, right? Even though you might know what your opponent is playing and what cards he could have, you need to guess, does he have them? Even though he might just have a whole lot of nothing.
yeah.
As the good old Hanky the Goat would say, if you have it, just send it.
Exactly. I kind of want to see something that turns the game on its side, something that doesn't see a lot of play that people wouldn't be expecting. So like we Mill and the Wind good stuff packages are quite linear. It'd be really interesting to see if there's something that can be brought in, something that meets your requirements that a lot of people don't play or is quite a niche card that these bakers have kind of gone, this works really well for the prompt and could be something you're looking for that you hadn't considered. I want them to surprise you with what's in there.
Okay, for Jesse, it is going to be very difficult to surprise me now at this point. I'm more curious to see if he also puts in early game potential, right? Like Slice and Dice and the Assassin's Ripper are always good cards to have in your Tristan deck.
Yeah.
Because 15 damage just kill champions.
Yeah, like he was saying, like that level 1 viability of just ending a game out early is a competitive win condition, but is it what you're looking for is the big question.
It kind of is, because it makes a deck competitive. If you can attack the game plan from multiple angles and not purely rely on this mill win condition, because let's face it, the deck might not have enough longevity to sustain multiple turns versus a burn deck, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have a closer early on. And if you don't have a closer, you need tools to survive. And I'm not sure if your actual game plan demands at least 15 advanced element cards to just mill out your opponent, that you can fit this in.
Are
But
we
who knows?
are we expecting the MBU package from Steve-O, 4 reclaims, 4 windmills, 4 protectors?
So if he is going more towards the prompt, I would expect more Benediction Angels than Windmill Engineers.
Makes sense.
Because the Benediction Angel is good with Escape the Wreckage and Reclaim and Ace and Protector. While if you play the Windmill Engineer, you need to have somewhat of a high count of wind cards.
And the more advanced elements you add in, the less likely you are going to be able to prompt the windmill engineer. So,
and you also have a lot of neutral cards that are good. For example, Incapacitate is one of the broken cards in the game because it says nope.
And Slice and Dice, like you said, it's a norm attack, so wouldn't really fit in there.
I was actually hoping that one of the two picks a Fire Tristan deck.
Ooh. What does the Fire Tristan deck look like?
Don't know. That's kind of the idea. So what you actually can do is Fire is inherently pretty good into going into level 3, right? So you need to have like a couple cards that generate prep counter. Sadie, for example, is a neutral generator of a prep counter because she can be fit into every deck. And if you level up from level 1 to level 2 with only 2 prep counters and you use 1 floating memory for doing so, you basically do what the deck did before.
Yeah.
So you are only going +1 in a sense, but it's kind of whatever.
No,
Or at least neutral.
yeah. Fire has got a lot of good card economy. It's got a great way to dig and, like I said, go through that, get to level 3 quite quickly, as well as maintaining influence and board presence. It is a bit of a shock that nobody's kind of gone for it, but they've both kind of locked in on what they wanted almost immediately after you said the prompt.
That is totally fair. Just another funny and interesting card in Fire Tristan could be Rending Flames, because it is also a assassin class bonus.
Yeah. Are there many fire fairies? Because I think Steve O's in on this fairy strategy.
You just took my joke too far.
Right, well, that's time on the round. Let's drag everybody back in. Hello, bakers. That is time on the
Hello.
round. So hopefully your decks are done and your dishes are ready to be presented. How are you guys? How did you guys use your time?
Pretty well.
Pretty well.
I mean, like, it was okay.
Okay.
So I'll start off with the question I asked last time. How did you guys find the prompt as it was given?
I mean, I felt like it was pretty straightforward. I mean, it was pretty standard.
Okay.
Like I have had this water Tristan mill list like floating around in my head for a while, so it's like I already know what this deck looks like. I just got to send it.
I already know what it looks like.
So it was just 10 minutes of Chesney just getting the deck up and then 20 minutes of him scrolling YouTube.
Had it locked and loaded from the start, man.
Well, seeing as
I
you,
thought I had a very innovative prompt here.
it was
Wow.
it was a very good prompt, very specific but open-ended enough that they could add their own flair to it. Seeing as you're so confident, Chesney, should we start with you?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll go ahead and get her pulled up.
Awesome.
Is
But yeah,
this
as
now
I've
the
said
deck
before,
for the regional
I,
tomorrow?
Yeah, today I have made Water Umbra Tristan Mill. My game plan here is centered around a couple of cards. We're going around Delusional Vapors, which is it's been around since HVN, but nobody's really been able to make this work yet. It's a 3-cost action, fast speed with Prepare 2. Makes your opponent mill 8, and then every time they draw a card this turn, they mill an additional 4. Yeah, there's plenty of ways to make your opponents draw cards, such as the classic Bauble of Abundance. But you've also got shenanigans such as Umbral Tithe. And to enable the Umbral Tithe combos, we've got quite a lot of actual curse support in the deck. A lot of the Umbra pile here was built to make this curse engine not only to enable Umbral, but to generate card advantage, keep yourself alive, protect your combo, and get recursion, so you can loop Delusional Vapors, you can loop Dynastic Whirlpool for an additional mill 15, and you can loop other things as well. So, the main thing I had to think of is how does this deck get to 3? As you might have seen, we're running both Tristan 3s here because Shadow Reaver gets to rip an additional 3, or an additional 4 cards off the top, so that also helps our mill win condition right away. But it also enables shenanigans such as Innervate Knowledge. Innervate Knowledge will let you go from Shadow Reaver down to 2 to proc Shadow Reaver again to get a mill 4 while going card positive. You can go from Shadow Dancer to Shadow Reaver to get the additional draw 2 when you go back up to Shadow Dancer. Let's say you have a bunch of float or you have just another dungeon guide chilling in your hand, you get to go even more card positive off of that, and you're still on Umbra because you went from Umbra to Umbra. So that's even better. And you can even do the classic play that a lot of Tristan decks do, where they'll go from 2 to 1 to 2 and get the draw 2 because they've got the 4 prep counters. The rest of the deck is built around kind of getting to that point safely, where we've got our mill pieces built, we've got our influence built, we've got our prep counters built, and we're able to kind of control the game and get our opponent's deck out of here. Like, this deck can build a little damage, but it's not the main focus. So we've got like the waterfall veilers are there for like just chip damage on their deck, basically. Mill 4 every time they hit, and they've got class 1 and stealth. So they're very threatening in like long grindy games, which we want to kind of get into. We got Frost Swarms and Throne Keepers to kind of keep our butts alive. Crack, of course. Sudden Deluge, we can either use it to clear an ally because it's just a 2-cost 3 damage attack, or if we've got a spare prep counter, we can just rip 10 off the top. Will to Save kind of sets us up. Angelic Channeling kind of gets rid of excess Umbra and Advance, because I believe we're on 15 Advance in this list. And then, of course, Incaps, because we're an Assassin deck and we have to run Incap.
Yeah, that sums it pretty much up. If you play Assassin, you need to play Incap.
Alrighty. Oh yeah, and, in the material deck, we've got, of course, our Tristan lineage 1, 2, 3, 3. Cloak of Stillwater is a pretty underrated piece, especially since we've got a reasonable amount of float here. We can toss a float to go +1, and we can use additional float to keep ourselves alive. So if we're going up against aggressive to mid-rangey decks, that card actually gets a lot of mileage. Bauble has the synergies with Delusional Vapors, but it also allows you to just insta-kill your opponent if they have decked out, so they don't even get to do 3 visit shenanigans on their turn, for example, or set up a tabula. You just kill them on the spot. Shadow's Claw is honestly mostly in here for the Shadow Dancer board clear. Like, you want to just kind of keep your opponent's board at bay while you peck away at them. Backup Chargers for early game, Terrafrings for early game, and No Lantern is so you don't auto-lose the Genbu matchup. Because otherwise, they're going to look at this deck and be like, it's free real estate. In the sideboard, we've got Shade Mist for aggressive early decks, Safeguarded Incap for like the stuff like Fractals, like our 4th Incap there, Song of Frost for the big swingy attacks, such as like the Beguiling Coups, the opposing Shadow Strikes if you need to. Nocturne's Oblivion is there to give you additional outs to Chime, or stuff like the Majestic Spirit if you need to get there and you're playing against those kind of decks. And Exploit's kind of an out to stuff like Gimbu and Seiryu.
Interesting. A couple of very interesting card choices, a couple of choices I personally wouldn't have made if I had this concept, and a couple of things I haven't thought of.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Especially the Tithe.
Yeah. Yeah, the Umbral Tithe working with Vapors is a very funny interaction.
Especially after Tithe being run in the last Nationals for the winner deck. I think people more so have the card on their mind right now.
We're currently on 7 curses in this list, 3 sites, 2 blights, 2 bindings. So you've got a reasonable amount of discount on the Tithe, as well as some extra boosts on the Abnegation just to kind of keep yourself in the game long enough for your mill to come home.
Yeah.
How many advanced elements are you running total?
15, I believe.
15.
I'll double check. We've got
3,
5,
5,
7,
10.
10, 12, 15.
15. Nice.
Yeah.
Also a pretty good amount for angelic channeling, so you can reasonably expect angelic channeling to be a draw free.
Yeah. Yeah, Whirlpool contributing to that helped a lot, because I think that might be the card that pushes this deck into the edge of playable.
I also personally like Innovative Knowledge quite a bit.
Yeah, the cool thing about Innovate Knowledge is because your deck does so many things when it levels up, there's like almost never a bad time to play Innovate Knowledge here. You just generate so much influence no matter where you're leveling down from.
And like you said, with a healthy amount of floating in dungeon guides, the level back up isn't going to be costing you too much.
Yeah, I believe I am on 15 float.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
15 indeed.
And then I've also got conniving plans will generate prep and also put float in the yard.
Yeah, absolutely solid deck. Seems to have impressed Gerrit with some choices they wouldn't have made and some choices that completely caught them off guard. Any final thoughts or questions, Gerrit?
I need to gather my thoughts, and I didn't roll a 6.
No, as we'll let you gather as we go over to Steve-O and see how Steve-O's tackled this prompt.
All right, that should be it.
That is a deck. Indeed.
There's the deck. There we go. Okay, so I decided to stick with Win Tristan just for the prep counter generation. I still feel like her best way to win would be through Shadow Strike or through her other Umbra, which some involve preps, but using her Umbra package as much as possible. Standard Trinage, wow. Tristan lineage, including Shadow Reaver. Once I go over the deck, you'll understand more why this is in here too. Right now in the current meta, there are like what's in the current meta right now? We've got a few low to the ground decks. We've got a bunch of level 3 decks, and that's really kind of it. Like Gembu is probably one of the only ones that maybe you can't use Shadow Reaver or you won't get that much good stuff from. But if you think about it, if I Shadow Reaver in almost all of my matches, how often am I going to get really good stuff? Most of the time, especially considering Seiryu is really popular. Wind Crux is really popular. Water Jin, you can steal their seethings, which is like the single best thing you could grab. And there's a gobble of other stuff that you could pick up right now. Everybody is playing generic goodthing.exe. There's so much stuff that you can steal that is so good. So I decided to stick with the level 3. I decided to put in both orbs because I feel like you can capitalize really early with a blinding orb and or an enfeebling orb and just surprise people by killing them outright without needing end cap on a lower influence. For example, if your opponent Gembu, right, they're holding up 2, 3 in hand or whatever, maybe they don't have float, but they're holding up 3 in hand. You really want to go for like a Shadow Strike, but you can't hold up for in cap or also deal with like a negate or something like that. Well, Blinding Orb and Enfeebling Orb help you get to that sooner. We're on Lost Providence because we're going to level 3 as soon as possible. Nullifying Mirror for other wind matchups. We really don't want people playing Veiling Breeze on us, which I'll show in a second. Purifying Thurbolt's just better backup charger for wind. Windwalker Boots, it's just good. And then Shadow's Claw. And now into the meat and potatoes. So I decided to play around this card right here. Devised Conspiracy effectively reads, you get to deal a bunch of damage, and also you get to take a bunch of cards from your opponent, which influence gain is like crazy. Which again goes back to my thought: how many decks are running cards that if I just stole one off the top, would I be happy about? And like 80% of the time, I'm like, yes, I want that card. Like I like having that in my playable hand. On top of that, Wind Crux could be an issue with this deck due to its Ascension looping and the Cleave card. Banished cards that you can play will not be able to be ripped. So you're kind of gaining influence that can't be ripped in that way. And that was kind of the idea of the deck, was get to level 3. You have your main win con still being Shadow Strike, so we're on 3 Mastermind schemes. We are on Angelics, not as many because the advanced element count is only like 12, but it's still enough to warrant it, as well as the sideboard, which has a few more. And then I decided to cut the Asen, Lookout, and a couple of the other low to the ground stuff like Slice and Dice, mostly because I feel like you need to pick one way or the other with some of the other advanced element choices I have, like with even Hexbound Blade, which if this hits, this speeds up your clock with your shadows. So I felt like I had to tailor it towards one end, which was the higher end. And also I wanted to do that because I know against low to the ground decks, you don't necessarily need to fight for board. If you can just hit level 3 with cards along the way up, like Sadie, Tempestuous Seraphim, which are really good, and even just a Windmill Injury, you can clear the big important stuff and still get to 3 with a decent amount of influence and a decent amount of control. And the moment you get to level 3, the game's basically over. Aggro decks won't be able to hit your face because you'll be able to redirect it. And with cards like Hexbound Blade and Abnegation, not only are you going to lock the game down, you're also going to speed your clock up. You don't need Shadow Strike and pray you hit enough at prep counters. One Hexbound Blade, the moment you hit level 3, means the game is over the next turn because you're just doing that much more damage. So that was kind of the idea. A certain tech card choices, we went with Stifling Gyre instead of Stifle Trap. Because Windcrux is so popular, you just name ghosts and you're fine. You play against Fractals, you name Zhang Zhao and you're fine. So I feel like Stifling Trap is kind of like been power crept by Gyre. Ensnaring Fumes for the Shenju matchups. We are on a 1 of Zephyr. This is kind of like Tempest Seraphim 3. It's just Zephyr could be useful for resetting your Shadow Claw. It could be good for flickering something important regalia-wise that you may need to get rid of. Zephyr is just all around a good card. But yeah, the main way we're going to win here is with Shadow Strike. We could speed up the clock with Hexbound Blade. Once you hit this with 1, that means each of your shadows with the claw are hitting for 3. You hit another one, they're hitting for 4. You're just going to do a lot of damage over time. It just speeds the clock up. Umber Sights for more influence gain and all that jazz. And then in the sideboard, I decided to go for a full mainboard sideboard because I know a lot of times Wind has issues. Wind in general has issues with Regalia, so I wanted to fit Nocturne's Oblivion in. I know that Tristan struggles really badly into Water Djinn. Final Stroke solo carries the game. You go double orbs, make them put basically 4 cards down. There's no way they're holding up enough to Song of Frost you, even if they had it, or Crimson Prescience through your in cap. So you make them put everything down. You pay for an expensive Final Stroke. You have just enough usually by that point for an in cap. You just in cap the Song of Frost or Prescience or whatever, and then you just win the game. And then the other cards are all just kind of like minor tech choices. Regal is good into a level 3 meta. Countermeasure is really good into Ablation. Psychopomp Scale is good into Gembu. And another Tempestuous Seraphim, because if you are playing against aggro, especially like suited, Seraphim just will almost win on the spot or at least carry you till you can get to 3. And then all of these tech cards, as well as your win cons, can be also abused with Reflected Blight. So obviously the idea is if I want more abnegations, Reflected Blight are more abnegations. If I want more Bound Blades, which you can't really use these because they will go into the lineage, but had you milled one from any of these monstrous mill decks, Reflected Blight just kind of acts as an insurance policy.
One thing, though, is that with Final Stroke, you can't close out the game against Jin because he's still immortal.
That is a good point.
You're welcome.
I will show you, at the very least, the other card that I was going to put in here. The option was going to be this Mirrorbound Covenant to basically keep Jin on a low enough influence that he can't really recover max. The other option was Morgan. But
okay,
I will say, with this deck too, though, if you're devised conspiracying, you have a very high probability of just ripping their own whirlpools and milling them out.
I mean, if you steal 7 cards, that's already 12% or something of their deck.
Well, yeah, it'll be 4 from the Shadow Reaver, and then depending on how many shadows, which in this deck should in theory just end up with 2, you'll get your hit, and then you get 7, and then you play another one, you get 10. Yeah,
already pretty good.
Very solid lands. Yeah.
For you two guys, would you bring those drafts to a tournament, like a local?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, Gerrit, if it wins me this, I will bring it to Virginia Regionals in 2 weeks and top with it. So maybe retroactively we'll declare the winner.
Can we do that?
I mean, if you want to do that, I can do that.
Basically, the reason why I'm asking is why having a theoretical concept of a deck is one thing, and the prompt was more so it should be somewhat competitive, right? And if you said no, you would not like to bring this to a tournament, it kind of would disqualify you from being a competitive deck. It is not a question of would you like to play the deck, but more so do you think it is able to win an event. That's why I asked. Maybe prefacing this like this helps you to make a proper answer, Steve.
Oh yeah, I mean this can definitely win events. I have no same thing with Chelsea's list. I have no doubt that these decks can win.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a bold claim on the regionals as well.
Okay, but Steve, since you like to do bold things, I think I'm in on this. If you win with this deck, the regional, you are winning today.
God, I hate playing Tristan. What have I done?
So to win just bragging and like pride rights on a completely prizeless deck building show, you're going to go and play a character you notably don't like. Yeah, I'm down for it. That seems like a great way to go with this.
I know what I'm about.
The big question is Chessie also going to that event? Do we put it down to whoever does better?
That would be quite hilarious.
Game Nut Regionals in Kansas is the day before. I'd be willing to throw down on that bet.
So so basically it's whoever performs better in either of the our own respective regionals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. That sounds super fun to me.
Well, if we both win, I guess it would come down to who had a more higher round tournament or who had more players, I guess.
This is also going to be a competitive event for you to attend. I would not mind if you change about 5 cards in the deck.
Yeah, sure.
Just to have, since this is a 30-minute draft, so you have a little bit of room to wiggle with.
Well, I'm assuming the same goes for Chessie, right?
Yeah, for both.
Okay.
So we're allowed to change at most 5 cards from this current list.
As long as I can come up with Lost Providence and some channelings, I'm good.
I think this is actually quite fun, and I'm super excited to see how you guys do.
And it's definitely an interesting conclusion to the episode. I think this is a great suggestion by yourselves and Gerrit to essentially, because Gerrit asked for a competitive deck, to see who does better, and we'll try and get, if we can find a time that works for everyone, get everyone back to kind of like conclude this after the events and hear from you guys directly.
2 weeks later.
So 2 weeks ago, we left our bakers to set up their decks with minor changes allowed by Gerrit, and they were going to take part in regionals, and we're now back 2-3 weeks after that, and unfortunately, I said and a lot here, they were not able to partake in the regionals with the Tristan decks. Both Chessie and Steve were just able to source the cards and get a viable deck in their opinions that was close enough to what they produced for Gerrit in time for their respective regionals, which is a very big disappointment because we were very excited to see how this was going to go down. I did float the idea of making them fight each other with their Tristan decks, but
That's a good one.
We couldn't find the time to get everyone together because we've got the build up to Worlds, we've got the last few RDO regionals. It's a very awkward time. I mean, I tried to get another one of these recordings going, and people just don't have the time at the minute. It's a very hectic time to be a Grand Archive player. Gerrit was technically not even supposed to be free to record with me today, but has put some time out of his schedule to get this wrapped up, and I do appreciate it. How are you doing?
Doing amazing. And for my fellow friends in the Grand Archive community, it's always a very important thing to me personally to get time at hand if we are doing something together, right? As we are doing this right now.
I'm having a lot of fun recording these. I'm having a lot of fun like editing them and seeing what people build. And as a new player, it's also helping me like learn the game. So I'm loving doing this. And if people want to take part in this, feel free to reach out. I'm usually in the Discords making memes or talking anime. The Grandarchive community is one of the best card game communities out there. Everyone's kind of on the same page, and everyone's just there to have fun, and they know that Grand Archive is a smaller game but growing fast. And when I see new people joining, when I see people asking questions, there's no kind of like, you should already know this. Everyone's so willing to help, be a part of it. They're just doing it for the love of the game, and that's what I love to see in these kind of things. But
that is correct. Everyone loves being part of things in the Grand Archive community and helping out your fellow players, content creators, admins of things, or whatever your question might be. Don't hesitate to ask someone in the community. They are always willing to help.
Exactly. It's one of those great things. The resources are there, from weebs to the community to content creators. If you have any questions, you need any help, or you just want to chat GA, check out the main Discord, Merlin's Marketplace. There's regional communities as well. Everyone's in there to have a great time and help you find the best deals. I've recently picked up 2 boxes of RDO
Oh,
for £100 each because someone went, a store near me is having a sale. I went straight to their website. Like, yeah, cool. I'm going to get a couple of those boxes.
did you get them already in and open them?
I think they're arriving tomorrow or Monday because we don't get post in the UK on Sundays. And once they've arrived, I'm going to sit down with one of my locals and we're going to open them together on stream.
Oh, nice. That sounds lovely.
But we're kind of playing on the point because I think Gerrit's not wanting to make this decision because both of these decks are unique in their own ways. But
That is
Gerrit,
correct.
remind us of what your prompt was, and let's talk about the decks that were there.
Gladly. So my prompt was that the cookers had to brew up something that is a Tristan deck and uses a lot of advanced element cards. And it needed to be competitive viable. That was more or less the gist of it. So it had to be Tristan, it had to be level 3, and it kind of needed to contain some amount of Umbra cards since they are most likely very good, right?
Yep.
And also whatever you feel like for the exalted element. And there was no restriction in the base element, so players could go wind, water, fire, or even norm if they wanted to. And speaking of the elements, we had two different base elements, I should say, with Jesse going with water, with a more mill-focused game plan. And Stevo, his deck was more of a streamlined and tried and true Tristan version that was just focusing more on the level 3 advanced element cards.
Yeah.
Namely the Umbra cards with the attacks and curses thematically.
If I remember correctly, you liked Chesy's deck because it had that alternate win condition, the mill aspect to it. It was a unique and fun deck, but still retained that competitive control. Whereas with Stevo's deck, it was equally appealing to you, not only because it could sustainably get to level 3 and have that outburst, but it didn't rely on it. It was still able to contend and go toe-to-toe with decks at the early stages and even win before needing to get to the high levels.
Yeah, that is kind of what Stevo's deck could do with enough allies. You could threaten early kills down the line. Speaking of, how about we dive a little bit into the decks here? So, Stevo's deck was more focused on the level 3 Umbra cards, with the Decised Conspiracy, the Hexbound Blade, Reflected Blight, Shadow Strike, and Abnegation. And the idea is that he gets advantage through the Devised Conspiracy to just get more card advantage through stealing your opponent's cards. So somewhat akin to a Hearthstone Burger Rogue deck, right? While in Hearthstone, you're not stealing the cards of your opponent, you just get copies of them most of the time. This deck actually could steal those cards, and you could recycle the Devised Conspiracy with the Reflected Blight. So your shadows could generate quite a bit of advantage that has the big upside of not being interactable in the sense of your opponent can just regal you and you lose all the good cards suddenly. Pretty big upside, if you ask me. Another possible damage source is the Hexbound Blade. It's an attack that also says it gets inherited into the opponent's lineage if you hit him, and every Umbra source deals 1 more damage. So that means your shadows are not attacking for 1 by default and for 2 with the Shadow Claw, but for 3.
And if you can
Same
get
for-
if you can get agility, it hits a lot harder as well.
That is correct. Agility amplifies the damage of the attack card itself by 4. So you are hitting quite hard very quickly, especially if you have Sadie Blood Harvester on the board, or if you have a very crazy turn of going into level 1, picking agility, going to level 2 and 3 with a dungeon guide, for example.
Yeah.
So there are ways to trigger agility. And we're not speaking about innovate agility here. That is not triggered. That is activated. Very interesting other part of the deck was that he plays 2 abnegations with a lot of curse cards. So that means while you lose some health early on with the Umbra cards being activated, you can recover it as quickly as you need. Lacks a little bit the early kill threat of the old Tristan deck with the combination of Slice and Dice and the Assassin's Ripper here. That is kind of a downside to me personally, since early kills out of nowhere is one of the very strong things about Tristan as a deck.
I can't really see that that level 1, level 2 explosive power.
It is possible that you have a lot of allies early on with this deck, since he plays the Tempestuous Seraphim, if I pronounce this correctly. The Wind Seraphim, let's call it her. Let's call her that. But that's about it. So you're mostly really just looking to go to level 3 and annoy the hell out of your opponent with all the Umbra cards. Very on theme, so I like that a lot. Kind of a downer that you are lacking the early kill potential, but you have to make sacrifices to go more advanced element heavy.
Yeah, and the Tempestuous Seraphim utilizing the amount of advanced elements in here with that advanced imbue.
That is correct. Pretty good card. It's also very popular in the Wind Crux lists these days. And just quickly checking at the sideboard again, it is built to combat most common threats with Nocturne's Oblivion, a couple Topsies, Regal Inquisitions, and a little bit of Graveyard Hate with Psychopump Gale. So all in all, kind of round package that Stevo presented here, with the small downside of having not this early threat of Slice and Dice.
And Steve did make a point of showing he was playing the Blinding Orbs and the Enfeebling Orbs, because the turn he's coming in to kill you, he wants you hands down, which is what they were designed to do.
That is correct. That is kind of something I forgot to mention. Thank you for that. Jesse, on the other hand, he took a very alternative approach here. Of course, he's playing all the Tristan champions, the full lineage, 1 to 4. Basically, 1, 2, 3. And he was saying he might include before the promo version, just to trigger the Scepter of Lumina more frequently, since he included this in the deck as a possible damage source. So if you first start with the Spirit, get out the Scepter of Lumina, you have 4, 8, 12, 16, and with the level 4 Tristan, you have 20 damage just from your material deck. So if you survive long enough and level up, you might just win the game off of this. And now we come to the very interesting parts of his deck. He is going for the mill game plan with Dynastic Whirlpools here. And the same as Stevo here, he tries to utilize the Reflected Blight and Abnegation and other curses alongside the Whirlpools, and also the Assassin cards with Delusional Vapors and all those cool attacks and allies that are existing in the game with Sudden Deluge and the Waterfall Veiler. Those cards all basically say you mill cards from your deck into your graveyard as the opponent.
Yeah, he's got that great combo with the Delusional Vapors and the Bauble of Abundance, where you mill and then also I'm going to make you draw cards so you mill more. I'm just going. It's almost like a pseudo whirlpool by going 15 cards of your deck are gone.
That is correct. So I like this game plan a lot, and we haven't seen it explored quite a bit. I think there was only one regional in New Zealand where one of the players played actually one of those decks. And I don't remember the placement. It was 1 or 2 seasons ago. So not very frequent occurrence here for the deck. So you have for sure a big surprise factor, and you can do the gotcha. Another very interesting tech is that he also included the Grandarchive. There's a couple interesting interactions with it. It costs less to activate for every curses. in the lineages. So if you yourself use a couple Umbra sites, draw a little bit, use the reflective blight, it might just be activatable for free, as we have seen in the Southeast East Asia Nationals. It was also present in the Umbra Alice deck as somewhat of a finisher to force your opponent to draw cards if the deck is empty.
Yeah. Uh, new player question here.
Yeah.
Drawing cards into memory, does that count for the same activations as drawing cards? So Umbral,
Yeah.
Typh, and Vapors.
It is, as long as the card that says you get the card into your hand, memory, or whatever draw, it is considered a draw.
So if we went Delusional Vapors and then we played the Umbral Typh, that would be 2 cards into memory and 8 cards into discard.
That is correct.
That's pretty brutal of an interaction, yes. And then you get
It-
the damage on top of that.
Exactly, it hurts quite a bit. As a prominent other example where you don't draw but you get cards, it is Regal Inquisition. It is specifically worded like this, so you don't lose the game, even if you would try to pick up cards from your deck that you don't have.
Yeah, I have seen more people at my locals buying and playing Chime in the sideboard because of Alice and Jin and Tristan just having this very sustainable mill strategy.
That is correct. It is a very interesting card to put Chime into your side deck against those strategies. It kind of depends on how you want to close out the game. Chime is a good card, but it is very interactable, while Tabula of Salvage is less potent, but gives you more access to your win conditions very quickly.
So,
Because you pick the 5 cards from your graveyard you want to stack in your deck, basically.
yeah. So the big question is, which one of these decks appeals to you more? Which ones hit the prompt better? Because they both came at it from such unique angles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know which one to pick, and I'm glad that it's not me having to choose.
Okay, so theme-wise, for like the game plan itself, I personally like Chessie's deck way more. However, I'm not sure if the deck is actually competitive enough. While I love the theme, the deck presented right now with only focusing on the mill game plan might be very weak competitively. As soon as your whirlpools get negated or hindered in some way, or your delusional vapors are just gone, you have no real win condition anymore in the deck. While Steve's deck is missing the early slice and dice Assassin's Ripper win condition, it still plays the good pack of cards that allow you to have a Tristan game plan. While it kind of still relies on Shadow Strike as closer, you still have all those other attacks and other fancy toys that facilitate a game plan that lets you win even without. So deck wise, for the winner, I choose Stevo here just because it seems more playable in a competitive scene.
So Steve-O takes the win as his deck is more malleable. It can more adapt to other situations and has got more lines to find the win. Whereas Chesy's deck is good. It was solid. It hit the marks that you wanted to. It's just in like the scale of competitiveness, it's more easy to predict what Chesy's trying to do, and once you can predict a competitive deck, you can counter a competitive deck, and Chesy has no counter to the counter.
Kinda, it's just a very one-dimensional game plan, and one-dimensional game plans, while at times very strong, are also very fragile.
Exactly.
So that is kind of the reason why I give Stevo the win here.
So congratulations to Stevo. We would usually have the winners here, but unfortunately they're both unavailable. It's been an absolute nightmare trying to sync everyone up because one of the players is working days and one of the players is working nights, and then you've also got to factor in the time zones because there's a good 6 hours between us all in total. It's absolutely wild. So big congratulations to you, Steve-O. If you haven't already, go check out Careful Study. Go subscribe to them on YouTube. Check out their videos. Go check them out. They've had a PRD preview. They're a great source of content. And our big thanks to my special judge, Gerrit. I'll let you go rest before the regionals tomorrow. Great having you here. Is there any content or anything you'd like to plug outside of Merlin's Marketplace, the best place to get cards and news?
Always check out the Serene Balance production for Grand Archive local streams of the NA League and also occasionally other events. Follow all the content creators that have a spoiler this season just to show your interest in the game and also spread the word.
So you can be ready for next preview season when they all get brand new ones, and you've got to be ready to go get them all again, because I've only been able to get one profile picture this time because there's only 300 and it's a massive race to go get them. But I do enjoy my Win Bauble profile picture. Big thanks to Red Zone Rogue for letting me get that one. Thanks for doing this, Gerrit. I'd love to have you on to play or judge again in the future, and I'll let you go get some sleep as it's getting quite late for you over there.
Thank you. Have a wonderful one.
Yeah, have yourself a wonderful evening too, my friend. Bye.